Hello everyone, this is Kyle Warsinski and I'm going to be doing my week 5 presentation for MPA 540. This is the training video in which I'm going to train individuals on how to conduct a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, otherwise known as a SWOT analysis. This type of training is going to be geared towards middle and senior management within organizations, especially cities, or potentially can be used from outside organizations like your Chamber of Commerce or your Workforce Development Board. Really, anyone that's doing a strategic planning process. One of the first things you do in those processes is you start with this type of SWOT analysis. And I get a lot of questions on how to go about doing it because they've actually seen me do it a couple times, and I figured instead of trying to explain it every time, a training video would work out great. So hello everyone, this is the training video on how to conduct a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In this training video, you will learn overall how to conduct a SWOT analysis, how to successfully attract stakeholders to your process, how to get the most out of your participants, and actually how to facilitate that planning process going through. So I know when people think of SWOT, they're thinking of swatting bugs or those types of things. SWOT really stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Some of the background on this is you need to be clear that your strengths and weaknesses are internal factors in which your organization actually has power to enact change. Opportunities and threats are external factors that you may not have any say so or power to change whatsoever. So some people ask, well, why do we check opportunities and threats? Why does that even matter to us? Well, working in a global environment or within regions, you need to be checking on what's going on outside you that you can maybe leverage, and you need to be mindful of what threats are surrounding you so that you're not running up against those without being mindful of that. So first step, often one of the most important steps to the process, is attracting stakeholders to your process. This is assuming that you're doing a community SWOT analysis and not an internal one. An internal one, you just gather everyone up at your office and you perform your SWOT analysis accordingly. But this is assuming that you're going to attract the community to the process. So what you do is you go to your Rolodex. If you're not familiar with what your Rolodex is, today's generation uses Google Contacts, right? So you go to your Google Contacts, pull up all the people that you think are major players within your region and sub-region or jurisdiction, and you try to figure out who that top person is within that organization. And then hopefully you've been successful in developing a relationship with them, and you give them a call and you determine what's in it for them and kind of push them to participate in the process that helps you as well as potentially helps their organization they represent. So how to get the most out of the participants in the process. So you're going to have a bunch of people in the room and you're going to go through these processes in terms of identifying major concepts or strengths or weaknesses or those types of things. So what you want to make sure is that everyone speaks openly and freely. You also want equal opportunity of the speakers. So you don't want to have one or two people in a room of 50 dominating the conversation. So as the facilitator, you need to be mindful of that, and if that is occurring, be tactful in a way to kind of shift focus off those couple people and bring it back to the rest of the room. You need to encourage all types of point of views, even ones that may not be technically in your favor as the person that's running the thing. And lastly, you need them to feel like they're not being censored, and you need them to speak the truth, even though if it might hurt. So one of the strategies that I utilize when doing these types of things is using something like Mentimeter. If you're not familiar with Mentimeter, it's this, everyone has smartphones, and it's this smartphone app that you simply, you don't have to download anything. You just go to menti.com. The facilitator of the meeting has already queued up a series of questions through that process. And then the participants simply put in that code that's in that middle box on the screen. Once they put in that code, it instantly syncs them with the questions that you have produced in your queue. What this does is it allows people to input suggestions or input ideas, as well as vote on things in terms of prioritization without the groupthink issue coming into play. And if you're familiar with that, if you have one person that's dominating and they suggest something, a lot of times everyone else will just be like, "Oh yeah, that's the greatest idea ever. I'm going to vote with that too." Or yeah, and it hinders their creativity and innovation when it comes to providing input to the process. So um, platforms like this allow for that secret ballot, if you will, but you can also have a screen up and it shows the results of the people's voting in real time. You can also pull this data later as the facilitator and use it for data collection. So you go through the SWOT analysis. It's really a brainstorming technique on all four quadrants of this sheet. You go into strengths, so what you do better than others. You ask these questions to the people in the room. What are your unique attributes? What do residents or businesses see as the areas or the business's strength? And what's the city's or what's your public agency's competitive edge or advantage? Be mindful, all these things need to be things that the city or the agency can enact change in. So weaknesses, you ask those questions. What do others do better? What do you see as the competitors? What do they do good? What are our weaknesses? And then lastly, the external factors, which are chances for progress, what's going on in the region in terms of innovation, and then threats, chances for negative impacts, things around us that are taking place that are unfavorable. And then lastly, what's our competition doing that we are not? So then you'll get a list of these types of responses, and then you'll want to go through and use Mentimeter or another way to actually prioritize them, because you're going to have a lot of things in each area, and you want to prioritize in terms of what's critical, high, medium, and low, and that enacts what you're going to do with the SWOT analysis. So does anyone have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and finish this training video. And thank you so much for watching. I look forward to watching all your videos as well. Thank you.